On today's Locked On Marlins, we're going to dive more in depth into the Arizona Fall League.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremiah Geiger2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, leave a like, and let me know, as always, your thoughts in the comment section. Joining me on today's show is Alex, Forever Marlins. You guys know him over on Twitter. Alex, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm well, Jeremiah. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. A lot to get into. We're going to start with the Arizona Fall League. But before, I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So Arizona Fall League just kicked off. I'm going to be out there next week, really throughout the entire duration of the season, have my media credentials, try to give you guys as much content as possible because the Marlins prospects, they're affiliated with the Mesa Solar Sox. So there's a few teams down here. They kind of just play a round robin schedule. They're going to have a home run derby, I believe an all-star game later in the month or in November, I think it is. I'll have to get the dates on that. But a really exciting opportunity for a couple big name Marlins prospects to extend their season, essentially, and get some very valuable reps. And this shouldn't be taken lightly if you're, a diehard fan and if you care about this organization and really put an emphasis on the development of the farm system. This is a great opportunity to do so. So first off, Alex, I want to open up the floor to you. What are you kind of watching for as we're just wrapping up the first week of the AFL?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I look at the AFL kind of interestingly because you can look at the approach for how teams put players in the AFL a couple different ways, and it really depends on what they want. I mean, back in the day, I think there was ostensibly like a finishing school for top prospects. These days, I think that you have a lot more teams that are pushing players in as either kind of like what you said, an extension to what is already a good season. So it is still kind of like that show them off time. But some of these other guys, this is a good vessel for which to get like extra reps for guys who miss time because of injury, who need to face like more advanced pitching and hitting, since this is kind of a rare opportunity to have guys kind of see pitching and hitting that is skipping a couple levels from where they currently are. And also just assessing guys for if they're worth putting in for some kind of Rule 5 draft protection. We don't really have anything like that for our guys, except with one exception. I believe Holt Jones is the only one that is Rule 5 eligible, and he's actually already been Rule 5 eligible and didn't get chosen. So I'm definitely watching out for him because this, to me, feels like for him, it's kind of a Hail Mary to see, can you perform? Are you worth protecting? The end of his last season in 2025 was, good enough to justify maybe thinking about if another team might swipe him this winter. But for the most part, these other guys, I think that we just need to see some more playing time from them, especially guys like Starlin Caba, PJ Morlando. I'm excited to see if these guys can muster up some their talent against some of the more advanced players that they're going to be seeing in the fall league.
Yeah, I was going to say, Caba, Morlando is another guy, and Aiden May are the 3 players who I think the Marlins specifically wanted to, get reps because they'd missed so much time. I mean, Aiden May hadn't pitched after he got drafted out of Oregon State over a year ago. And then really it took him a long time to get back on the mound. And for a college arm, you really don't want to see that. You kind of want them to at least get, more than a quarter of the season now 2 years after he's been drafted. So hopefully this kind of gives the organization an idea of where he is physically and also from a developmental standpoint. Caba and Morlando, the team has invested so much into those guys. Obviously, with Caba, you're trading Jesus Luzardo, who's starting against the mighty Dodgers in the divisional series. We can talk about that trade. I've spoken plenty on that trade. So you obviously want Kaba to reach his potential. And it was another season which was kind of marred by injuries and also not enough production on the field. He's also super young. I talked about this with Eli Sussman in yesterday's show. One of the youngest players in the Arizona Fall League. I think just 19 years old still, or recently turned 20. He's super young. And then Morlando, same kind of deal, not being able to stay on the field. And when he is on the field, you're just seeing inconsistent production. So, former first round pick, you'd like to see a spark out of those two in particular, being as they're highly regarded prospects, and it would do wonders for this farm system if they pan out in the long run.
Yeah, PJ Orlando in particular, I think, is definitely someone to be a little bit more concerned about, because you can already see in terms of his progression, when you slap the phrase first round draft pick on a player, there's a lot of expectations that come with that. I think, and we'll maybe get into this later, but I think Aiva is a good example of somebody who has kind of met expectations at this point in time, or at very least close to met expectations. PJ has not done that yet. And frankly, I think that as he was starting to warm up and actually start performing a little bit, it was right when he hits a season-ending injury. So this is kind of the perfect opportunity to actually see if he was worth that draft pick, especially as we just witnessed a later draft pick from his draft class debut and absolutely annihilate in the playoffs, by the way. So it's hard to see something like that and then see the way that PJ has performed and not think that that was a fumble. I don't want to think in those terms quite yet, but this will be a good opportunity for us to see otherwise. Kaba, I think, very much in the same light. We see the way that Jesus Luzardo has performed this season. We want to make sure that we got a return on investment from that. He's not anywhere close to Rule 5 eligible, so we have some time to play with him for a little bit. And like you said, he's so young. He has so much potential. And frankly, I mean, and granted, it was only one game so far. I haven't watched today's game, so don't tell me. In the first game of AFL's season this year, Starlin Cabo was the best performer on the team. He was integral to two really big caught stealing plays at second base. He got 2 hits in that game. I believe he took a walk. I could be making that up, though. So that's the kind of play that we wanted to see from him in the first place. And if he can continue turning out that kind of performance throughout the fall league time, you'll see him probably jump up a level, maybe even 2 the next season. So hopefully that's what we get from him.
Yeah, I think Kaba has the highest ceiling out of the players, currently in the Arizona Fall League from the Marlins, just because of that pedigree. He was a top 5 prospect in the Philly system. And I want to say he has a relatively safe floor because his glove is so good that, I mean, worst case scenario, if he can hit a fastball, he's going to one day make the major leagues, AAA, get a call up and be a defensive replacement. Obviously, the Marlins want more than that because he's got a really good eye at the plate. He is so young and his glove is already so far advanced. Like you said, when he's out there drawing walks, getting base hits, we don't need him to be this power hitter. That's not his game. Just play his game, and that hit tool has to increase. And like you said about jumping levels, he's now spent the last 2 seasons dealing with injury and also kind of stuck at that low A level. So next season in 2026 is what I'm going to be really watching for. Like, how long does the organization keep him at Jupiter? Does he start off out of camp at Beloit? That would be a decision I think that the Arizona Fall League and his production here could influence.
Yeah, I think there's a few players on the Fall League lineup that are kind of auditioning for the next level right now. He's definitely one of them. Others being Jack Sellinger. I think he's proven himself at every level of minor league ball pre-AAA, and he's made good progress in short time. I mean, I think he was drafted in 23, so it's only been a few years now. And he is one of those guys who's on the cusp of jumping up a level. I feel the same way about Fenwick Trimble. He could definitely, he's done well in AA ball. He could stand to get into AAA. So this is trying times for these guys. I don't know that there's a better opportunity, especially pre-Rule 5 draft, for these guys to really demonstrate their value. Because, Starlin Caba currently occupies a spot on the 40-man, so it's like that is a player that we want to see prove that he's worth that. You don't want to DFA that guy to clear room on the 40 just to see him flourish in some other organizations. The Marlins curse.
Is Kaba on the 40-man right now? Because I don't think he's on the 40-man. I could be wrong.
Am I crazy? I could be making that up completely.
No, because
I'm thinking of Jared Serna. I'm thinking of Jared
Yeah, you're thinking of Serna or Acosta. Acosta, I think it was. Because I did the 40-man roster breakdown, and I was like, how did I miss Kava?
No, you're totally right on that one. I was about to say, like, that's a real early placement for 40-man.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, Peter Bendix must really know something we don't. But
I think he obviously knows a lot of things that we don't know,
Yeah,
I hope
exactly.
So.
Yeah, no, Peter, please, you have to know more than us. Our faith is in you. Our hope in this team is in you right now. So coming up next, we're going to continue talking about the fall league. I want to talk about the pitchers and also who you mentioned briefly, Fenwick Tremble, because, drafted just a year ago, I really like him. And I think this is a good opportunity for Mr. Tremble. So this is going to come up right after this. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. That's exactly where Rugiet's Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. And the effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment will ship discreetly right to your door. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly, and you can ready up your confidence in the bedroom by heading to Rugiet.com and using promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Again, that's 15% off your very first order, and make sure to go ahead and use our code so they know we sent you. Back here with Alex Forever Marlins over on Twitter. We're breaking down the Arizona Fall League. I wanted to talk about the pitchers that the Marlins decided to send over here, and I want to start with who I think has the highest ceiling out of these guys and really enjoyed a breakout season in 2025, and that's Carson Milbrandt. Milbrandt, he'd been in Beloit for a while, so he was accustomed to that level, but he continued to struggle with the same issues. It was never a matter of throwing hard or a lack of stuff. It was simply just throwing the ball over the plate and developing his arsenal enough to avoid the reliever tag. And I think Milbrandt did enough in 2025 to give me confidence in 2026 that he's going to continue his development at a high level in Double-A, and I'm excited to watch him pitch this fall league.
I'll keep it real. I was out on Carson Milbrandt before this season. I'm so happy to be wrong about that, frankly. But he just had like those 3 middling seasons from 22 to 25 or 22 to 24 that he just wasn't really doing much. He was going back and forth between levels. He got stuck in A-ball for a while. But this is the year where you finally saw him break out in Double-A for his last 2 games. And he did, I think, a little over 4 in his first game. And then he went to 6 innings of shutout ball in his last game of the season. No walks, 6 strikeouts. It's impressive stuff. His K rate has been getting good. His stuff is looking a lot more consistent. His command has improved drastically. Still some work that needs to be done on the command, frankly. But if what we're seeing right now is going to be a consistent trajectory for him, God, this is the ceiling is extremely high, and this is a great way to extend that the season that he's having right now and really see if they can churn some consistency. I'm excited to see his first game with AFL. This is probably the pitcher that is in the minor league organization that I'm the most excited about, aside from the 2 that I don't need to mention.
Right. Yeah, no, I think you're right there, because the way I look at the farm system in terms of pitchers in the Marlins organization, you obviously have Thomas White and Snelling, and then there's everybody else. And when you really want to break it down into tiers, I think Milbrandt falls into that second tier. You'll have someone like Kevin DeFrank, who's so young, you can see the talent, throws 100 miles an hour, But I mean, we're years away from really watching him contribute and shoot up those prospect rankings. Milbrandt is there because I look at him and I look at his stuff. Can throw 97, 98, get swings and misses, which is key because you think of somebody like Sandy Alcantara, and we all love Sandy. He's our ace. Sandy was never a strikeout guy. Even going back to his early years with the Marlins or even the Cardinals, he was a sinker ball pitcher that threw hard, but lacked the movement on his four seam to get swings and misses and get those strikeouts. Milbrandt, I think, can be a strikeout pitcher, almost like Edward Cabrera in terms of velocity and the ability to miss bats. It just depends on how well his secondaries continue to develop, because I don't think he's going to throw a 95-mile-an-hour changeup anytime soon. And also, like you said, his command. He improved marginally this year with his command. 2026, it's going to be a big season for him. He's got to continue to lower that walk rate. Otherwise, you're still going to have those questions like, is he ever going to make it at the major league level and make it through 5 or 6 innings? Because if you can't control your walk rate, we know how pitching coaches are with the pitch count. You'll get pulled after 4 innings, and that's just not a recipe for success. I think he can do it. I think this breakout was real, and that's a testament to, honestly, the whole organization and Bill Hazel, the director of pitching, who worked with Carson in the spring training. So I'm excited to see also what he does.
Yeah, and for the record, by the way, I don't think a lot of people are going to be throwing a 95-mile-an-hour changeup anytime soon. The fact that we have one guy that does that is unbelievable to this day. I still don't believe it every time I see it. But yeah, no, and this could just be eye test for me, honestly, because obviously we don't have the same kind of advanced metrics for guys in A-ball as we do for guys in the major leagues. But it looks like Carson changed his arm angle a little bit this season, which I think is helping a lot with his command. You've seen that he is starting to have games where he's not walking guys. Previously, if you had a game where he wasn't walking a guy, that was like a miracle. So This is, so his improvement in that department has been drastic. He's been a one to watch for sure, and I think that the ceiling's high. He is a guy that if he can perform the way that he has performed over the stretch of like the last month and a half, 2 months of the season, for the duration of the 26 season, you could see him playing in the majors in 27, in my opinion.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. Let's move on to Fenwick Trimble, who's an outfield prospect, drafted in 2024. So the same class as PJ Morlando. College bat, though, out of James Madison, 4th-round pick. Gotta say, I really like Trimble and the way his profile is trending. He just seems like a guy with a safe offensive floor. It's not going to wow you with the power. Honestly, I would expect him, given his stature, he's 6'3", 200 pounds. I think, I'd want to see a little bit more in the power department, but it's not bad. I think he could probably hit 15 homers a season when he really taps into it. Good eye at the plate, good OPS, and across 2 levels rather this past season from high A, and then more than held his own in double A, where he had a 750 OPS. So it took him a little bit of an adjustment period going from Beloit to Pensacola, but I do think you're seeing a player who the Marlins like. They obviously see something in him. That's why he's down here. And 2027, it wouldn't be or 2026 rather, it's not out of the realm of possibility to see him going from double A to triple A. And then, like you said, 2027 might be that target year that we see Trimble, because I think he's a pretty good prospect.
No, I agree. And also, for the just side note, probably one of the most elite baseball names I've ever heard in my life. No, I think that AFL for Fenwick is an audition for AAA. Honestly, he's about there. I don't know that there's a lot else he could be doing in AA to prove that he is ready for AAA. Like you said, maybe not as powerful as you think a guy of his stature would be, but neither is Eric Wagaman, and he's doing on a stretch in the majors, so that's something. Yeah, no, Fenwick Trimble is a really interesting player to me because, frankly, he is too talented, I think, to be as stuck in the organization's outfield logjam as he's going to be. As much as I'd like to think that it could be like a 2027 player, it really depends on how the 2026 season goes in the major leagues and what kind of moves they're going to have to make in the outfield, because the outfield is going to be a really tough place for guys to move through. And as far as I'm concerned with Fenwick Trimble, I mean, you see that he has really worked on his plate discipline. He is getting more hits. He's taking more walks. He is getting on base, swiping a few bags. He's a good player, and he has the potential to make a debut earlier than his experience would suggest. But I just don't know that the organization gives guys like that a chance at this point in time in the outfield. That's such a tricky place for our players to be right now, because no matter how talented they are, I mean, look at all of the outfield talent in AAA and tell me how many of those guys are going to get a shot in 2027, barring another slew of injuries. It's tough, but skill wise, I mean, we're going to see it all. The numbers are going to keep on jumping off the page. There's not much more to say about the guy, in my opinion. He's good.
Yeah, that's a good point you made with the outfield, just having that logjam. And I was thinking to myself, doing a show a couple days ago about the outfield. It's hard to see some of these guys even currently on the roster staying on the roster. Like, obviously Jacob Marcy, Kyle Stowers, they're your starters in left and center. You're going to have, I assume, unless you bring somebody else in, Griffin Conine and Heriberto Hernandez could platoon in right field. That makes the most sense to me. Okay, well, where does Dane Myers go? Is he just going to be a defensive replacement and that's it? And then you have Kemp Alderman in AAA, who, for the record, just tore it up when he got called up. I mean, he was hitting 114-mile-an-hour homers on swings that he had no business on hitting that ball out of the park. I really, really am a big believer in Alderman and his 2025 season, but there's no opening for him to really make the roster anytime soon. It would take some sort of injury or trade or something along the lines of that, which I think is a good problem for the Marlins organization to have. We talk about this farm system being deep, where we're sitting here on Locked on Marlins talking about Fenwick Trimble, and he's almost an afterthought in the large scale, bird's eye view of things, because how does he get to this level? And he is a good baseball player. That's a good problem. That's a testament to what Peter Bendix is building depth-wise. And they're going to continue building, because they just got a new batch of prospects in the 2025 draft class. Most notably, of course, shortstop Aiva Arquette. And we're going to talk about Aiva Arquette a little bit and give you guys our thoughts on him as a prospect, what he brings to the table, and his ceiling as a baseball player right after this. Guys, if you like going to baseball games, football games, concerts, you name it, there's one place you should be getting your tickets, and that's from Gametime. There's going to be plenty of other places with long lines, login screens. They got surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it, but Gametime is simple. It's easy. It's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. And my favorite part, and why I use Gametime, is that all the fees are included. The price you see at checkout, that's the price. There's no hidden fees. There's none of that stuff. So it's super simple. You can see the exact view from your seat before you buy, which is another added bonus. So you're not going to be taken by surprise when you get to the stadium or the arena or what have you. So know your total up front, no surprise fees, see the view from your seat. And if you're interested in this, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. '25 draft class, Alex. The headliner of this was Aiva Arquette, shortstop from Oregon State. And I did a live stream that day, and somebody somewhere has it clipped of me being, I would say, pretty upset, because I did not want Aiva Arquette. I thought about clipping it myself. I think I stood up and I was like, because I was huge on JoJo Parker. I wanted JoJo Parker. I thought it made so much sense for the Marlins to get a middle infield bat. And they did with Aiva. I just felt like Aiva's going to go to third base. And honestly, I still think he's going to go to third base. But I understand. And a couple days later, it took me, a little bit to clear my head. I'm like, all right, let's go. Aiva Arquette, he's the man. Let's rock with him. I still think there's risk involved because I've been hurt before with drafting college bats. For some reason, Alex, the Marlins they seem to not be able to do it. I remember JJ Bleday. He was the guy. And
don't say that name.
There was a spring training I think it was like 2019, 2020 spring training. Well, it couldn't have been 2020. I was COVID. Right before COVID hit, they're posting highlights. I'm like, oh yeah, Bleday's going to be the superstar. And that just went up in the flames. So that's my fear. And it's just built into me. It's my default setting as a Marlins fan that Arquette won't pan out. Do you think that this is different? And do you think this will be different with Aiva Arquette? What stands him apart?
Okay, so I'm with you. Aiva was not my first choice. But that being said, I think
Who did you want?
Oh, I was JoJo guy.
Okay.
I was right with you on that one. I was like, yeah, that stud. I mean, come on. Okay, we don't need to get into it. It's fine. Okay, no. So I think that I was very skeptical about Aiva, but I'm actually somewhat satisfied with how his season was this year. First of all, out of all of the draft class of 2025, he got the most time at the plate. So they really gave an opportunity because they started him a whole bunch at either first or second position, I think. But yeah, he's gotten a ton of time at the plate already. I think 99 AB. So they obviously want to see him perform right off the bat here, and I think he did it. His OPS is a shy under 700, so it's not amazing or anything, but he batted decent. Coming out of college ball into high A can be a very difficult transition for some guys, and he did it with grace. He's going 242, 350, low 3 slug, I think. He is doing more or less what you wanted him to. He's swiped a few bags. His K rate is kind of out of control, to be honest with you. It is like, I think like 24% or something like that. So that part's not great, but he also takes a good amount of walks. And frankly, that's the part that, and I'm sure I probably went off about this in some capacity last time I was on the show, but I'm really big on the walk stat because to me, that's one of the more important, more long lasting stats to a guy's career. If you can get 17, if you can debut in high A in the beginning of August and pull 17 walks, I think that's great. He obviously has some kind of plate discipline. I'm not really sure what kind, since he is simultaneously drawing a decent amount of walks and striking out like crazy. I think that when he thinks he sees a pitch he likes, he's going to really go for it, but he doesn't always know what that pitch is, but he knows what a bad pitch looks like. And there's something to that. So
yeah,
that's true. Yeah, he hasn't broken our hearts yet. Which, it's only been a couple months, but that is not, people have done it in less time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got going on. If he can control that strikeout rate and work on really focusing on what he's good at, which is drawing walks, I think we're here for it. He's got 10 RBIs. He hit 1 home run. So, which is honestly less power than I thought we were going to get out of him, but it's early. And like I said, that high A transition for college guys can be tough. I think that the 2026 season will really be where we get to make our minds up about the guy. I hate to say that because that's would have been a year ago what we said about PJ Orlando. And here we are. So fingers crossed.
No, I'm right there with you. I think with Arquette, it's like as a college bat, you're advanced as a hitter. I mean, you've been at 2 high Division I programs. You were the consensus best college bat coming out of the draft. This is where I get hesitant, though, because we've seen a couple really good college bats get drafted. I think 2023, Cam Smith. That's the guy. If he falls to the Marlins, he's a can't-miss guy. And what happened? He debuts a year later, maybe 10 months later, and is tearing it up with the Astros. Can I see that happening with Aiva Arquette in any scenario? No. That's the difference, though. That's kind of the level which I'm grading Arquette because, and it's not fair to him because the majority of college bats don't progress like that. I was worried about the power. And I think until I'm proven otherwise, I got to see that with wood bats play. You know, raw power and in-game power are two very different things. If you don't believe me, go ask Jesus Sanchez, who still hasn't hit 30 home runs, much less 25 home runs. And he can hit it 500 feet, quite literally. It just doesn't translate into the game. You mentioned the walks, and that's the stat that I like, because it shows that there's some level of discipline, like you said. If he came into high A and suddenly his plate discipline from college went out the window, then you would say, okay, well, he's clearly getting overmatched at this level, because the stuff is going to be better. At Beloit, he's swinging a different bat. He's going to see different pitches and approaches from pitchers attacking him. I mean, that's professional baseball. So 2026, though, I'm right there with you, because I would say, you know, halfway through next season, if Arquette's hitting 235 with 4 homers and a sub 700 OPS, I don't think we can sit here and say, oh, let's just give him 4 more years. Like, we're at the point in baseball where we're a very what have you done for me lately kind of crowd. And especially with the draft, we're seeing guys fly through systems, for better or for worse. You mentioned that Blue Jays pitcher, Trey Yesevich, 11 strikeouts against the Yankees. Postseason record, by the way.
We could have had him, man. We could have had him. He was 2 picks back. We could have had him.
2
it's
picks
fine.
back.
It's
you know,
fine.
And I'm gonna say this. For the record. When let it be known that when we drafted Morlando, there were 2 guys I wanted. Yesevich wasn't one of them, although I'd obviously love to take him. It was Carson Benj and Ryan Waldschmidt. Those were the 2 guys on my target list I had. And obviously, you look at them now, very good prospects. Who would have thought? Also college bats. So it makes you wonder if the Marlins, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I want to believe. I really do. It's just going to be wait and see, because if he had shown up out of the gate hitting 320, you know, in high A and 5 bombs, or like 280 and 7 bombs, we'd be like, oh man, this is the guy, you know. But right now we're just kind of like, let's see.
Yeah, and frankly, I guess I'm just disappointed. If for no other reason.
Did I lose you? Are we back?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh, we're back.
Okay, cool. No, I think frankly, I'm disappointed, if anything, just in the fact that we picked him first, and yet in terms of batters that we selected in the draft, he's not even like there are probably 2 other guys that we selected further down that I'm more excited about at this point, given their 2025 season. Like Brandon Compton, Chris Arroyo are both, like, in my opinion, a lot more exciting than Aiva at the current level, which sucks, because, you know, like, those are guys that we did not need to spend a first round draft pick on. So, you know, that part sucks. We're not good at selecting college batters, but you know what we can do is
yeah, we have a storm here, so apologize to the listeners. My internet's going in and out. So we'll end it here. You know, locked on with the time frame. But I think that was a good episode, Alex. Appreciate you coming on, as always.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Always happy to be here with you.
Absolutely. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fit.